What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now let's unmask them. Today's guest is a young and bright assistant coach, and I say young because he's been in the business as a college coach now for 7 years, going to go on 8. He's a great basketball mind, excellent talent evaluator, future head coach in this business in my eyes, and he's a native of Norfolk, Virginia, Jermaine Woods. Now, Jermaine, before even getting into college coaching, had an outstanding career at Christopher Newport, where he ended up, like one of the best shooters of all time in that program. Like I said, outstanding career. And he decided to go play over across the water in Poland. Spent some time over there, came back, got into coaching right away. Was an assistant at Booker T. Washington High School. I know they ended up winning a state championship, I believe, while he was there as an assistant. And then he goes over to the women's side. He's coaching at Maury High School as the head women's basketball coach at Maury. And at the same time, in the summer, he's working with men, working with boys as on the AAU coach for Boo Williams Summer League. Did an outstanding job with those teams. A lot of great players. A lot of guys got to college. That's what people don't understand. With that program, there's so many kids in that area. That's young men and young ladies, outstanding talent in that area, and he produced a lot of those players to go on to play college basketball. And then from there, he gets into the college game. He goes right to the ACC. He's at Virginia Tech for 2 years, where they were trying to turn it around there. And then he had a chance to come back home. That's always a dream for a kid from the 757. You get a chance to come back home and coach at Old Dominion. He was there for 2 years at Old Dominion with Karen Barefoot, where they did a good job. And then he had a chance to go to Wake Forest, where he was there for 3 years. For the last 3 years, 2017 to 2020, he was there. And then presently, he's just taken a job at Coppin State as the associate head coach. And we all know in this business, if you want to be a head coach, one of the tracks to being a head coach is becoming an associate head coach. I mean, that means you're 12 inches over from the head coach, and you're going to make a lot of decisions, and you're getting right in line to be a head coach to get your own program one day, which I think. So I just want to welcome to the show a guy I had a chance, fortunate to work with. He was on the women's side, I was on the men's side when I was at Old Dominion. But I want to welcome to the show Jermaine Woods.
Thanks, Lamar. I appreciate that introduction, man. Like I said, you give me a lot of credit, man. I appreciate it. Sound like a long resume, man, but appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on Unmasked. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, man. You're welcome, man. Like it's always, I always like to, I want to, I started this thinking men, but I was like, hey, man, the women's side is similar to the men. I want to get women coaches on, especially a young black male, like you said, which is not huge in this business or is becoming distinct. And hopefully people, you aspire some people when they watch this to start thinking like coming to the women's side because there's an opportunity for guys, especially on the women's side, to be very good assistants and then turn that into a head coaching job down the way. So with all that saying, man, we're going to get right into it and get unmasked. There's no handbook, man, to being a college coach. You've been on the high school side, you go right into college after that. And tell me about that first day, first week, first month after things are done and the human resources and orientation at Virginia Tech. Especially, no one gives you direction. Everyone thinks it's easy. You see it, but when you're thrown into the fire, no one has an idea what it's about. But talk about that, man.
Some of the scariest times of my career, man, my first year as an assistant at Virginia Tech, I didn't know what to do. Like you said, it's no handbook. It's kind of like, being a parent for the first time, man. And you just got to go with the flow kind of. But I think everybody's under this impression that when you get there, they walk you through the stages. You get all these emails and you got a family. We were a young family then as well. and I got to look at benefits and retirement plans. I never had none of that stuff, and so it's like, what am I doing? And you got to make the correct decisions. I was fortunate at Virginia Tech to have a lady in human resources that knew one of the guidance counselors and my former principal at Maury. And so she kind of really helped me out with, with like the TIE Craft investments and stuff. I didn't know what that stuff was. So that was crazy. But even after that, Lamar, it's just being an assistant coach. It is different at the collegiate level. Your boss has these aspirations and these things that they want, and it's not always communicated down to you how to do it. It's just, this is what I want, and then when you don't do it how they want it, it's like, oh man, what am I doing? So it was scary my first year. I was probably a terrible assistant coach in my first year, to be honest with you. I got better in my second year, but it is a scary transition, especially with me, coming right from high school and the grassroots level to the ACC. But the one thing I honed in on is the recruiting piece and getting kids from Virginia. Now, I could do that. That was the easy part, and that's what I kind of did. I didn't do any basketball stuff. I worked out the bigs, but I didn't do any scouts. I just kind of recruited and kind of tried to find my way. But just getting things right, like the head coach wanted, was the most difficult part because you don't have that handbook.
So true, man. So true. And speaking of recruiting, you just talked about it, because the one thing I know about you is talent. Like I said, talent evaluator. And like that stuff you grow. I mean, you came into business, that's what you were, getting players. You had a great connection in the area, in the 757 area across the state of Virginia. But recruiting is a lifeline of college athletics. You got to get good players and good people to win. So talk about, and it could be all the stops you've been at, like what was your best and worst recruiting story? And it could have been, it don't have to always be players. It could just been a situation. But like I said, one thing I know is talent and you can get players. But talk about your best and worst recruiting story.
So we'll start with the worst. The worst recruiting story was, we had this kid. She was like, I want to say she was like number 25 in the country. And she was a Virginia kid up Northern Virginia. And that was my kid. Like, I did my first home visit with her and her family by myself. I think I sold the program, sold the head coach. And she has a game. and and I talked to her that morning, and the head coach was going, so you got to get all your ducks in a row. You got to get the address. Our head coach didn't use GPS. He wanted the paper. Like, you got to have all your ducks in a row. And I thought I had everything in a row. And so he goes there, and she's not playing. She's not even at the game. She's homesick. Man, you're talking about, I thought I was fired right then. And maybe I should have got fired, but that was like the worst. That was the worst thing that could have possibly ever happened, to your boss, man. It's a 4-hour drive to the game. And so you're going to a game and she's not there. She's not playing. That was horrific. And so from then on out, now, before I send my head coach, I'm calling the coach. I'm calling the player. I'm calling the parents. I'm calling everybody involved with this kid to make sure that kid's going to be at the game. And, I look back on it, it's funny now, but imagine being the boss man or the boss lady and you at a game and the player's not there. I mean, you're going to be livid. So that was a bad moment. And you know who I work for. So it was, I won't use names, but that was a bad moment. But other than that, man, we did some great things with recruiting at Virginia Tech. We brought the number 19 class in the country and as a last place team. And so they try to get things turned around in the program. And I got two recruiting stories that really stand out to me. And one was at Tech and one was at Old Dominion. The one at Tech was getting my former player to come to Virginia Tech, Shanette Hicks. Shanette Hicks is probably one of the top 3 high school basketball players I ever had seen as I got to the women's game in the grassroots level. And people say I say that because she's my player, but no, I'm telling you what I seen was what I seen. And she came on a visit. People don't know her cousin was Cam Chancellor, so she already knew about Virginia Tech. He's an All-American safety there. going to be a Hall of Famer. He should be in the NFL soon. So make a long story short, she came on a team camp. My former team came. I removed from the team, so I couldn't coach him or any of that. And she committed on the visit, and she put a tweet up with "Eat with who you starve with," because I've known her since she was second, third grade, and we've had that relationship, and that was good. The other one was the old Jermaine. We had 3 kids that nobody said that they couldn't do the work. 2 and all 3 from Portsmouth. Janine Camp and Teller Edwards. I'm sure they won't mind me using their names because they are doing great now. Teller graduated with 3.0 grade point average, was MVP of the team, first team all conference and all academic. Both of the twins made the dean's list at their respective schools. So it's stories like that. Like, it's easy to get that kid that that everybody says so smart it can play, but in our area from the 757, man, we got to pull some up and try to help them out so they can become a successful young man and successful young woman. And those are the kind of stories that motivate me and drive me, and also has motivated me to make the decision that I'm making to go to HBCU, which is a decision that I've made. And I had other options. I mean, you and I talked about that, but I want to help. I want to inspire, and I want to help in a different way. Everybody talks about the, Black Lives Matter and the HBCUs, and let's help them. Well, I'm doing it, and so I put my money where my mouth is, and so that kind of stuff drives me.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. I mean, like you just talking about the young men and women from the 757. You're 100% correct on that stuff. Like you said, you were high school coach for a long time. You decided now, hey, I'm getting into college. Wife and family, and like, what did you have to give up or sacrifice achieving your current level of success? Because I mean, that first year, I think you were away from your family when you went to Virginia Tech. So you were back and forth, and now this is happening again. So talk about that, man. Talk about that.
This should be like the 3rd time that I'm making a move away from my family. And, now we have a son and a daughter in our household. My son he just turned 3 August 3rd, so it's a little different. But when I went to Virginia Tech, my wife didn't come right away. She had obligations in Virginia. Both of us are from Norfolk, Virginia. Went elementary, middle, and high school together. So we're from that area. All our families there. So that was difficult for her. But like, she's the foundation of this family, and she wants to make it work. And so just moving away and trying to find housing and getting all that right. I was lucky to have Beth Shelby to look for a house for me to help us get that. So the transition was a little different. But in order to be good in this profession, like, people say you got to try to balance your family and your work. Impossible if you want to make it to where you want to go, right? And so my first 6, I think I just figured out how to do it probably last year, to be honest with you, in my 6th season. And so it's giving up family time. It's giving up knowing your wife and knowing what she likes and what she doesn't like. You know more about your head coach and what they like and don't like than your wife and your kids. And so that was a difficult part for me. And it was very difficult transitioning, even from winning a lot. I think I was 63-15, and we were really good at AAU with that team that we had those years. We had a lot of success with AAU as well. So it was like difficult to go from that to a program that needed to be built. So I struggled with that mentally. And then you're so away from your family all the time. But the grind is real, and it's not for everybody. And I tell people that all the time. Like, a lot of young guys say, I want to be a college coach. Do you really? Do you understand the early mornings and the long nights? And when you go home, you're not off work because that phone doesn't stop. And you can't stop because you have to get players. Gino Auriemma said there's 2 kinds of coaches with good players and ex-coaches. And so if you don't have the talent, man, like, you won't be there. And so the grind, traveling, and being away, like, I had a week. Last year for my wife and our 10th anniversary, we took the family, all the kids and my mom, to Cancun, and I was with them for 5 days in a row. I hadn't done that in probably about 5 years before, previous, because we just didn't have that time. Even around the holidays, you don't have that time. So, you're going to give up a lot in this profession for you young man and young woman that want to get in with families. You just got to know, like my wife was like a single parent, even though I'm financially providing, we made good money, but she's still doing it by herself. And that gets frustrating for her at times because she didn't marry a college coach. right? I went into the college profession, and so it was a little different. But man, we're going on year 11 here this Friday, so we're making it work. Her career has taken off now. We talked about that earlier. She is the assistant principal now. She got that title. She's happy about that. She'll be a principal in 2 or 3 years. She's dope, man. So proud of her. But it was tough. And when I came to ODU, Lamar, don't forget, she didn't come with me to ODU. She stayed up there. And so it was like, boom. And now making another transition up to Maryland, and she's staying here. And so I think we got it figured out now, but it's still, being away from family. As you know, you've done it way longer than me at a high level, just not knowing your family and trying to get to know them. This pandemic has been amazing to me because now I think I know my wife and what ticks her off and what pisses her off and what she doesn't like and what she likes, and bringing home gifts and doing things. And it's been great. So, and learning my kids, man, like same thing. Like you don't get to spend a lot of time with them. So I got my son in the room locked up now with my daughter. He's probably going crazy. So, but man, it's a lot of sacrifice and time for everybody who want to get in it. It just is what it is. And if you don't do that, you won't be in it.
You're so right, man. You're so right. That's great nuggets you dropped right there. Scout reports. You talked about it. You talked about it early. You talked about it early that you didn't do them, but like eventually as time went on, you definitely have. I know you have. Yeah. I know you were doing them at Old Dominion because I remember that. Yeah. Talk about like scout reports, man. Those are so. I mean, people don't realize how much time you put in there, how much is invested. You watch 7, 8 games or even more. You're trying to get your team prepared, ready for them to play. Ready for them to. You try to simplify the game plan to them as much as possible because too much information they're not going to remember. But talk about your best and worst scout reports over the years because this. The one thing about it, you can have perfect play call, perfect actions. You prepare them. They go out and they're kids. They for some reason they don't perform, or you might you've got everyone covered on the scout report. Kid goes down. Kid hasn't played in games. Yeah. Or you look at the stats and person that shot 2 for his last 2. She shot 2 for her last 30 from 3. Yeah. She comes to the game and make 3 or 4. Coach looking at you like, I want to know about this work. So talk about the best and worst scout report.
So I started doing scouts after my first year at Virginia Tech, but I actually had a good teacher. His name is Tom Joyce. He was the associate head coach in my first year. He came from the men's side. He came on board with Dennis. You know Tom. And Tom taught me, kind of took me under his wing and taught me how to do scouts. And he prepared me. He left after my first year there. And so then I had to start doing scouts. And one of his main thing was know your scout. Don't have paper. Like he didn't allow me to use paper. I mean, one time I was practicing the scout, had a paper. He smacked it out my hand like, you can't use this paper. And so now that's how I do. But, scouting is tedious, man, especially at the places I've been so far in my career. Like you're breaking it all the way down. Like you're watching the games, you're cutting the film, you're putting it on the editor, you're editing it, then you're doing a paper scout. So I think my best couple scouts were in the ACC tournament my second year at Virginia Tech, and we won 2 games there. And I had both of those scouts. That's another thing. We got a draw, and we had Pittsburgh, NC State, and Florida State, and all 3 were mine. And so I had to prepare for those, and we won our first 2 games. And it's just one thing, that I remember distinctly is just studying a little bit harder and seeing how many free throws that their best player shot. And so we went into the game with, we're just not going to foul. That was kind of the game plan. You bigs, we're going to get you out the dribble because we're not as fast as them, but jump up and back. Just those simple things that helped us. And we won those 2 games. And obviously as an assistant, you're proud of your scouts. But I never say my scout. The head coach is the head coach. And when they lose, they take the blame, right? And so when they win, we got to give them the credit as well. But it still feels good to have an input in a game plan, I should say. My worst scout probably was at Old Dominion. I'll never forget this scout. We were playing, I want to say I think it was UT at Texas. It's one of the schools from Texas. And they come in, and I'm like, we can beat this team. It's senior night, too, and that's Jenny and Destin's senior year. And we need that game to go to postseason play probably. We maybe would have, maybe wouldn't have. But so we playing man. I'm like, we're going to play man. We can guard them. They lit us up. Like, we couldn't stop them off the dribble. We couldn't beat them. And Barefoot, like let's go zone. Like, coach, I'm telling you, they too good of a shooters. We can guard them. It's gonna change. And you know, Barefoot and I's relationship, so she's gonna listen to me, right? And we didn't change, and they didn't change. We got beat. And the worst part about the situation was, like, I'm that guy that spent time with the head coach after a loss or after a win, but I had a wedding to go to after the game, and I had to leave her, and it was just messed up. That's probably my worst scout ever. I can do it all over again. It was simple, Lamar. Let's just go zone. Being stubborn, because you watch all this video and all this tape, and I'm a numbers guy, and so usually in basketball, the numbers play itself out. But you always got that one game with one person or two players that always change it for you, and that was probably my worst scout. So I've been doing scouts now, like even at Wake Forest, even with me doing my own scouts, the coach called me in, she used to call me in, and I helped with, her with, the other scouts and watching stuff for her, like how to break presses or what to do and things. So I'm a kind of seasoned vet, and now I know at Coppin I'll be doing a lot of it. So she's challenged me with that. So I'm looking forward to it, man. It's not the funnest thing in the world, but you have to have them if you want to win games. You have to have a good game plan. But I've learned to be less is more for players. And I've done, well, it have to be that much. Like my boss at Virginia Tech was like, oh, less is more. At Wake, it was extensive. And so I've done it all. So,
man, I hear you. Like, you're right. It's all about what the coach wants and what they think is good for people. So this is my next question, because you've been at, like, you went right into ACC.
Yeah.
You go to Old Dominion, which has always been traditionally, not just, they went to Conference USA, but like traditionally, Old Dominion is one of the best programs in history of women's
100%.
college basketball.
100%.
And then you're at, so you Virginia Tech, Old Dominion, Wake Forest, and now it's like, you talked about it a little bit earlier, but I want you to elaborate on even more. Like, talk about why HBCU, and, because you definitely had other options to go to. That was just your thing. But talk about why HBCU at this time right now.
Without, you and I discussed about the options, so I won't talk about it because I don't want to like throw, you don't do that, right, in this profession, right? I've just done some research, and I have some good guys I talk to in this business. Edgar Farmer, he's at Elon, really good mentor of mine. He was a head coach in women's basketball for 12 or 13 years. My man Shea Robertson, who's at Maryland, who won, I think, 5 or 6 Big Ten championships, who's at Ole Miss now. And I've talked to a lot of people, and the numbers don't match what I've been doing, all right? I want to be a head coach, period, point blank. That's my goal. In the women's basketball, it's 2 Power 5 African-American male head coaches, and they both are great guys, Kenny Brooks and Quentin Hilton. I want to say Q has been the only one that went from a Power 5 assistant as an African-American male to a Power 5 head coach. So the numbers say that doesn't happen. It's 26 or 27 African-American black male, African-American male assistants, so black male assistants in Power 5. If you add the Big East, it's 29 or 30 African-American male assistant coaches. And so the numbers don't suggest in our favor, which it is what it is. What we have been trending towards is a lot of our African-American sisters or women have been getting jobs, and I'm happy for them. So I'm choosing the best career path for me to be in a position to be a head coach, and also for me to affect lives at a place where I know I can make real change. I've given my time and my years. In the last 3 years I've been at Wake Forest. It has its ups and downs, good times, bad times, like every program has. Anybody say different, they're lying. And I just felt the need to go somewhere where I know I can make an immediate impact. And after meeting with the head coach and the athletic director, it's no doubt that I'm on the right path to be a head coach. And if I have to be a head coach at HBCU, I'm proud of that. And if I have to be a head coach at a Division II, I'm still proud of that. My goal is to be a head coach. And the numbers for us as African-American males are not in our favor to be head coaches in this business. It's less than like 6%. And on both sides, it's not. And I'm not blaming anybody for it. I'm just making the best decision for me to follow the path that I want to follow. And so when I looked at my options, and again, we won't name them, I just think this is the path for me. And people say, "You're going to HBCU?" I was like, yeah, I've done it all now, man. Like I've been Power 5. I ate filet mignon, and I've been on private jets. I've done all of that stuff. And now it's time for me to do it for me. Like those decisions I made before, like I did it for everybody else. I did it for the city. I did it for the culture. Like he made it out of Norfolk. Look what he's doing. And so now they see that you can do that. Now let me get back to mine. And that's what I've decided to do. And I'm extremely excited about the opportunity to work with these young women at Coppin. And Coach Laura Harper is a phenomenal woman. And this will be my first time actually working for African-American female. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, I have to meet with the AD, man. He actually played at Virginia Tech in football before Frank Beamer. And so I'm looking forward to it, man. And like you said, though, it's going to have its challenges, right? Because it's not the ACC, it's not Old Dominion. But we got to make it that. And so now I have a goal. Now I'm hungry. Like, okay, you said this about Coppin. They won 3 games last year. All right, just watch us work. And I'm looking forward to this challenge. And it's probably like Wake Forest was a challenge, though. They were last place, too. Virginia Tech was a challenge. So let's not – the money was just better with budget-wise, but it still was a challenge. And we grew that program. Wake Forest went from last place to win the most games of her career last year in the ACC. So, I'm up for the challenge, looking forward to it. And, again, with everything going on in today's world, this decision wasn't even that tough, to be honest with you. It was only tough because of one school that you know about. It's kind of personal to me. So that was kind of tough to make that decision. But everything else, man, just fell right in place for me.
Awesome, man. I'm glad you came to your decision, what makes you happy, what you think is puts you on the right path. Sometimes, like, we're so loyal to everything else. We're so caught up in what other people want us to do, and now you get the chance to do what you want to do. You've seen it. Like, you've been, like I said, been to the ACC, like, been at Old Dominion, top program. So, okay, why not this? And I'm giving you the title as you consider program builder, because everywhere you've been, you've changed that program. They've had success. And when you left there, it was better than what it was when you
100%. 100%. That you said it, but that is a fact. So, like, I'm looking forward to this. I appreciate that, man. I didn't want to say it, but that's the truth.
Do you? Like I said, I think you will be a head coach, and so I just because you're out there on the road, you work your butt off, man. Everybody knows that. But do you ever find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand? Like, what are?
Yeah, I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, right? And I was raised single parent, and we didn't have everything, but nobody would have known. My mom did an amazing job raising us. And I didn't have a father. So some of my ways sometimes, like, they say you loud. Yeah, I'm loud, but like, what's underneath that? You're just seeing what's on the surface. You're not listening to the message, because we got this stigma that, like, we can't be loud, or we loud, then we're not smart, And now I taught math for 7 years of my life, almost 7 years of my life. I taught math from Algebra 1 to AP Calculus. I graduated with honors with 3 African-American males in our high school that graduated with honors in Granby High School. Jermaine Woods, who was a college coach, Henry Thompson, who was a lawyer, and Dexter Reed, who was a professional football player who owns his own training company now. And so, I've always been a smart guy. So you listen to the tone, but you don't really know what's under the surface. And so I think that gets thrown around a lot, not just with me, but for people who look like me in general. And so that's why another reason why I'm making the decision that I made, because I need to be somewhere where people going to accept me for who I am, and I don't have to, like, conform to what they think I should be. And so that's another reason why this decision was kind of easy for me. But I would just say that, like, I'm an educated Black man, 100%, that raised us a great husband and a great father and a great son. And so when you're loud, though, people they don't see that. They don't see what's behind that. But if you get to know me, like, you know me, and so you know me on a personal level, and so you understand that. But, like, again, this is Unmasked, and I'm letting people know right now. I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm just letting people know, like, from where I'm from, it's different. Like, like it's different. And so to be where I am today and to show my family and my kids and the young man and young woman back at home that we can be here. You can be there in the ACC, but you can also be here. And it's okay. And it's okay. And it took me a long time to figure that out, but I'm right where I need to be and I'm going where I need to go. And I just want people to understand like who I am. And if they don't understand, I'm cool with that too. I'm fine with that. I've helped hundreds of young people be better people, better students, and better athletes, and I stand on that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. You said something earlier, like, we're all educators, and I was a math teacher myself for 6 years, so I understand it. Like, we're all educators. We teach in this business. That's what we're in it for. Like, we want these kids to be successful. Like, like you said, you had people in your lives that helped you along the way. But like, what do you try to teach or educate to your young players besides basketball? Because that's in your nature. I mean, you're
Yep.
a teacher, you're an educator. What do you try to do?
That be a good person. And being a good person doesn't mean that you have to be the person that somebody thinks you should be. It's just treating everybody with respect, but then making sure that you are respected. I think that we have to stand on that. I think a lot of times, like, and I didn't even say anything about athletics because like that's like a small part of life from where I'm from, man. Like a lot of people don't make it to that, and so we got friends I grew up with. They got real jobs, but they're doing well. They're buying houses, but they made it out doing. They got like 9 to 5. Not saying I don't have a real job, but I'm doing something I dreamed of. But everybody's not doing what they dreamed of, and so I try to tell my people like basketball and football and baseball is just like the only thing you can be. I was watching that Stephon Marbury store and it touched me because I had those same conversations with the young man and woman back at home. Did anybody ever tell you can be a doctor or a lawyer, or if you want to be a barber, own your own business, or you can do whatever you want to do? Don't just think you can just do sports. So I think the main thing is just giving them I'm a disciplined guy, and so I never lower the bar. And I think at first people, young people don't understand that, but everybody I've coached, most of them have came back and like, man, thank you for, the discipline you showed me. Like you made me a man. I got Instagram messages from players like, man, you are the definition of Black excellence. You were like a pop. You were tough on me, but I see now like we needed that. Or young woman saying the same thing. So I think you gotta be disciplined in your daily life and be a good person, but not the definition of a good person is not what everybody thinks you should be. You gotta look at yourself and be the person you want to be. So my main thing to young people is, have that drive, have the ambition, be disciplined, and be you. And that's a big thing in my household. Like my daughter, had a poem about being you, and we stick to that.
Awesome. I love that, man. What are your best and worst memories in coaching?
A lot of bad memories because we lost a lot. Probably, my best memory in coaching, period, is just seeing the players, and especially the ones I recruited, graduate. Like you could take like the entire team I coached at Wake Forest. Not Wake Forest, at Maury High School, my girls team, which is my first varsity head coaching team. All but 2 have a college degree. That makes me happy. Every kid that I've coached in AAU on that Women's B team has a degree. Every single one. Now that's my best coaching stories right there. And they come back and they tell you those things. And I'm just proud of those men and women who they're becoming today. So, my best coaching stories are not even, on the court. It's the accomplishments that these men and women are having off the court. Like I read today, while Kevin Bazemore is going to Shaw as an assistant coach. Now, while Kevin Bazemore played with me, in AAU, one of the most talented players and high energy guys and played harder than anybody, he's a college coach. He got a degree. And so to see those young men and the young women that I've coached, I was talking to one kid this weekend. She just graduated from Johns Hopkins. I'm just, so those kind of stories are the ones that, that are my best stories. The worst stories are always the kids that you can't reach, in my opinion. And being an educator, it's just natural that you think you can reach everybody. And so, I'm never going to lower my standard because I know what it takes. And sometimes the kid don't get it and you just bump heads and you can't reach them and they feel a certain kind of way. And those are the stories that, it bothers me because, I am really about no child left behind. And so those are the kind of stories that, you feel like you didn't reach that player as a coach, or when you recruit a kid and they transfer, you couldn't get to that kid. And those are the kind of stories that bother me. But, man, basketball has blessed me, Lamar. And so, my worst stories and what I'm doing now don't compare to my worst stories growing up. So worst is not better than the worst, and so I can't complain about anything that I'm going through right now, man. My family are blessed. And so even the bad stories in coaching are still good days compared to, coming up where I came from.
Great stuff, man. What is the strangest, wildest, weirdest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court that you probably have seen since you've been in coaching?
You already know where I'm going with this story. I had some wild boys, man, and they're man today, but man, I don't know what. First of all, we spent 10 days at the Nationals, and we didn't know we were going to be there for 10 days. We were a B team. We got our flights a day before the Elite Eight thing, so we supposed to have been gone. And so we had the some end. I want to say it was the Knights Inn or the Quality Inn, whatever it was, the INN at the end of it. So you already know how that get down. And that's when I got Briante and Trey and all those guys, Enoch, Big Sean, Bazemore, DeCarlos Anderson, Justin, we're deep. Enoch, good team, but those boys were wild, man. And so, and having good fun, never got in trouble with the law or anything. But so we playing the game again. You know me, they know me, and we're winning, but we lost to CP3. That's when they had PJ Harrison in them, I believe. And then they blamed it on me because PJ was all this, and I started talking trash because he won't hit it. And then he started pulling up by the trash can in the small gym. You know what I'm talking about? On that first court, you walk down the bleachers. He started going nuts. And so these guys, I don't want to call them names. They my guys. They're like my sons. So you know what I mean when I say that. These guys go out and go. I don't know where they at. And so I'm looking for them. Man, they way down. Is that International Drive or whatever it is in Florida at a carnival. I don't know what these guys doing. And then I can't find them. And so they trick me and I get back. They're in the damn pool. And I just go nuts. Because you're responsible for people's kids, man. And the ringleader, Briante the ringleader. And then you got DeCarlo. Them guys were nuts, man. So just some of those stories and the Myrtle Beach story, they going up. I didn't even know what teenage clubs in Myrtle Beach. They in clubs in Myrtle Beach. And then we in Richmond, I come back, they got my son who's about, Lil J was probably about, what was that, 9 years ago? He's probably about 12 or 13 or whatever, 11, 12. I come back to the hotel, these guys hopping over a fence and they take my son. And somebody throw him to Big Sean and Big Sean catching him over the fence because they running because they see me. So just those stories, man, of those crazy times with anybody who coaches grassroots is gonna tell you some nuts, some crazy stuff. And college is not that bad because it's a lot more structured, right? And you got more people, more staff, and it's planned out a little bit more. But those AAU days was definitely some crazy times, man. In Myrtle Beach, especially. Myrtle Beach was one of my favorite spots to go, but those guys had a ball at Myrtle Beach. But we did a lot of winning, so you got to respect that.
Yeah, y'all did do a lot of winning, man. Listen, like I talked about, I think you'll be a head coach in this business. Now, you got a chance to sit down with 3 people. Have you worked with some terrific coaches? Yeah. I know Karen Bradford is one of your favorites. If you had a chance to sit down with 3 coaches in this business,
yeah,
and you can choose man or woman. It don't matter to me, but you wanted to pick their brain to see what their thoughts are, to kind of like help you get prepared and, for you being a head coach someday.
Yeah.
And it's not, because you still got to have your own niche. You got to still, it's your program. But who would be 3 people you would like to sit down, spend an hour or 2 for lunch, at the same time, pick their brain, just about being a head coach in this business?
The first person I would have loved to sit down with is the late, great Pat Summitt. She's not here with that anymore. But when you talk about women's basketball. She is women's basketball. You know, she's what defined women's basketball. Like, she is the greatest coach in women's basketball. And Gino is the great as well. But, you know, Pat was doing it, you know, and they big rival between those two. But I would have loved to pick her brain, just reading some of the stuff that she said, Lamar. And she was a disciplined person as well. And a lot about discipline, just reading some of the stuff that she said. I would just love to just talk to her about, you know, ways to, you know, be disciplined and structured, but still reach the young woman. And obviously she was great at that. You know, she didn't lower the standard. The standard was the standard, and you know, she did it. The other person is Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley is a huge discipline and structured person as well, but she's unique because she hasn't lost who Dawn is. That South Philly kid, right? Who's swag, who's gonna wear the Louis, the Gucci, the Nikes, or gonna wear her ripped up jeans, recruiting a baseball jersey. I love that shit. That makes me happy because she's showing us, like, I don't have to be recruiting with some slacks on and freaking dress shoes. I'm gonna get kids being me, and it could be done this way because I'm doing it. I won a national championship, and so I would love to sit down with her and chop it up with her about that, and because she's getting it done, right? And probably the next person is Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers is one of the most intelligent human beings in the world. And I read a lot of his quotes and a lot of his stuff, and I follow him, and I just look at him as not only a great man, but the sacrifices he had to make of being a father to get where he is today. Because we all know he made some sacrifices, right, about being a father to get, you know, his family in a position where they are today. And so I want to know, like, as an African-American man, like, how did you make this work? You know, you and your wife still married. Like, how did this work? You know, how did this go? Like, what do you do? You know, I want to, you know, be a head coach. So, you know, what can I do to make this work? Or how much time I got to spend here or there to make that family thing work? Because, you know, he's done it. And so those are just three off the top of my head that, you know, I would love to, you know, break bread with.
Great observations of all three of those. I'm fortunate, man, for the last 4 months on Sunday nights and Thursday nights to sit down and have a chance to listen, or you're talking with Dawn Staley at least 2 hours a week.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, she is everything you said. She is unbelievable. And like you said, she is as real as you can get. She's not bigger than anyone else. It's amazing to listen to her and how much she's respected. Not just on the women's side, but in basketball altogether.
In period, right? In basketball, right? Just basketball. Yeah. Basketball is basketball.
I'm in there with people that are NBA, college, agents, like whoever, and she has the respect of, she's probably the most respected person in there. And I'm talking about head coaches, former head coaches, ADs. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, so everything you say about Dawn is, man, it is so true, man. It's unbelievable.
She's the USA coach for women's team, and she carries herself the way she feels like it's gonna make her happy. You know, they say you're not happy. You can't make anybody else happy until you're happy, right? And my wife and I live that every single day. And I just love how she does it, man. Like, she ain't living up to what people think she should be. She knows what's right and what's wrong and where she wants to go and what she wants to do. And she is the Olympic team. She's a national team coach. So you can be you and make it, you know. And so I respect that. But I'm glad you made that point because, like, that's how I feel about her.
Yeah. What movie or TV show, man, title? This pandemic been going on, but your life, you've been coaching for a while. Like, what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
Fucking Speed, the bus movie. I've been going 1,000 miles an hour. I've been trying to, like, we've done some vacation, but every time on vacation, I got a Zoom interview. Or, you know, because I'm still interviewing for jobs. You know, I've been doing that for a long time now. And so, but there's always something going on, right? And then you got to stay in touch. And everybody want to know what you're doing. And then when I put that tweet out about my wife and I being parallel, everybody want to know, they know I left. And so I'm getting called. What happened? Just time to move on, you know? And so just my life. And then my 2-year, well, he's 3 now. I got a 16-year-old daughter. I gotta get her a new car. You know, my son's 21. Then I have my 9-year-old daughter who's coming into her own. Like she's coming to her own, like with life, like who she wants to be, who she thinks it wants to be. Like, and then my 3-year-old son driving me crazy. And then I got my wife, man, you know, and so it's just, man, it's speed, man. It never stops. It never stops. So now I'm like a mom pop break now, right? Because my wife is working. I'm home with the kids, you know, and obviously, you know, it's been great. I'm proud of her, man. But speed, man, it never ever ends, man. I tell you. So that would be what I would say. And if it does end, like with high speed, you can't go below a certain mile or everything gonna blow up. So if I stop there, everything just don't fall in place the right way. And so, you know, hopefully this weekend we get to enjoy some time. We're going on a little vacation for our anniversary. So hopefully this weekend I'll get some time, you know, to do that.
Wow, I like that speed. That's actually really good. That's a really good answer. What's your favorite word or phrase, Jermaine? Like, what do you like to use?
Under promise, over deliver. Under promise, over deliver, man. I'm really big on that. And again, like in order to do that, you can't be too much about yourself. People who are about themselves a lot always over promise, right? Because they want everybody to know what they're doing. See, I'm doing it different. You know, I learned the hard way. So now, like, I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing. Like, people trying to figure out what I'm doing. No, under promise, over deliver. That's one of my mainstays. I use that phrase a lot, and I want to say I got that from Brian Bird, who's at Texas Tech, who's the head coach. And we got a long friendship. Who's the head coach now at Georgia Southern, right? Yeah, Georgia Southern.
Yep.
And so under promise, over deliver, and I think that goes with your kids, with your wife, with your significant other, your partner, your spouse, your husband, whoever. That goes a long ways, and especially with your team, because like if you're not, people who overpromise again are about themselves, and so it's always about them. But if you underpromise and overdeliver, and they're like, okay, he worked. That's a hard work. So I just underpromise, overdeliver, man. That's my phrase. I will stick by that.
Love that, man. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
My mom told me a long time ago. I was 11, and I was playing with a Blue Wim Summer League team. Obviously, one coach about Boo. You know how Boo got the team that will beat WSL. And this coach, I'll never forget. I was probably the best player, the second best player at least. And he didn't put me in the whole 3 quarters, and we're losing. And then 4th quarter he put me in, but I'm crying now. I'm 11 years old. I don't know what's going on, and I'm crying, and I'm like, no, what's going on? And so I didn't know. When I got in the game, we come back and we won. And after the game, Mom put me to the side. She said, don't you ever let another man ever see you cry again, or another person see you cry again for something that you believe that you earned. You go out there and you go get it, and you don't let nobody deter you. And from that day, man, that's what I do, man. Like, it doesn't matter, like, you know, if I don't get it right then. If it's something I want, I got to keep going out there. And my mom told me at 11 years old, and she didn't let me quit that team. She made me stay on that team, and I didn't know why I didn't play until I was an adult. But I just know I went back with that mentality. I'm not gonna let anybody take anything from me that I want. And so that's those words from my mom. Don't let anybody take anything from you that you want. And don't let anybody see you cry for something that you've earned. And so to this day, you know, that stuck with me. And I'm a vulnerable guy with my family, but you're not gonna be able to take nothing I want. You know, I'm from a gritty place, man. Like, I ain't giving up that easy. If I want it, I'm going to get it. And so you can't stop this show. Nobody. And so that's how I feel. That's how I live my life. Moving on to transition to this next chapter of my life, because, you know, this will be my last assistant coaching position before I'm a head coach. I stand by that. And so transitioning to that, I'm not letting anybody take this, my man. They can talk about all they want to. You ain't taking this. And so my mom gave me that at 11 years old. I'll never forget that day.
Great advice by mom, man. Shout out to moms too. I know, that'll come up another time on this show. I'm sure her name will come up again. Trust me, I know it will.
You already know.
Look, man, if you've never been a self-promoter. You, like I said, you work hard, and but like, if you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
Authentic, ambitious, driven.
3 great.
Authentic, ambitious, and driven. And I think those are important. And I think my authenticity kind of rubs people the wrong way a lot because they don't understand, because they never walked in my shoes. But I'm sick of catering and not being who I am. I'm done with that for my life. That's it. I've done it too much, and it doesn't reward you, because you're not fulfilled. You don't fulfill yourself. You're trying to make everybody else happy, but what about you? And so I'm going to be me. I'm going to be authentic. I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to be respectful. Obviously, you're in a profession where you have to be professional, but I'm going to be authentic. Don Stelly's authentic. I'm going to be authentic, and if that doesn't work for me, then that's fine. But at least I can look in the mirror and say, man, I did it. I did it my way, and I was true to myself, and not just worried about what other people think. Like I said, man, this time is for me. This time is for me. So, and then I'm driven. I'm very ambitious. Like we've developed, and again, my wife is the foundation, but we've done well for ourselves in like business aspects and everything, and investments, because of just our ambition and our drive, man. And so, and then the last one, I'm not a yes man either. So I guess that's 4. I'm never gonna be that. That doesn't work either. Those yes man relationships are one-sided, and a lot of times you get down out of that, and then you end up like putting all your time into something, and then in the end, look what happened to you. You just, they'll drop you in a minute. At the drop of a dime. So I'm just going to be authentic. I'm going to be ambitious. I'm going to be driven.
Awesome. What person, and I kind of know the answer to this, but I know, I'm going to put this in the detail. What person or event has had the most influence on your life?
My mom has had the most influence on my life. My mom never, and people, this is not a joke, my mom never missed a game of my rec ball, AAU, high school, in college. She missed 1 game because she had to have surgery at Chris Newport, and she couldn't make it because she just got surgery on her foot. Even in high school, she surprised me in my All-Star game. She couldn't make it because of another surgery, and she came out there with crutches at Norfolk Academy. I never forget that. My mom has been the greatest influence in my life over anybody. Strong, African-American, female, single mom, raised her kids. My sister's doing really well. My brother lives in South Korea with his family. My sister has a family doing really well. So, she's just been the backbone for me, and just the way she raised me and the things she taught me. And obviously, she couldn't show me how to be a man, but she raised me with principles of, you take care of your family, you be a good husband, you be a good father. And I think those things have driven me and to be with my wife 11 years of marriage on Friday. My mom, man, you know that already though. Like, she didn't even miss games at Old Dominion. Like, she was at every game, sitting right up top when I was at Old Dominion. So
she didn't miss games at AAU when you were traveling to Myrtle Beach and stuff.
I would be remiss if I didn't say that. I'm glad I might have got in trouble if I didn't mention that. I'm glad you reminded me of that. For you, those of you who don't know, my mom traveled every year with us. Every single AAU tournament that I've coached, my mom was there, keeping the books at most of the games. Or if she wasn't, she in the stand streaming. I tell this story, and I'm sure Ty heard this. We're playing Team Loaded in Myrtle Beach, and we were late, so we got our bus broke down or whatever. And my mom keeping the books, and she filed the person out with Team Loaded. I was like, Mom, we all tell you it's hockey. You can't file them out and don't file us out. Man, I say, no, keep him in the game. But that's my mom, though, man. She gonna make sure her son good, though, man. That's my heart. And the biggest event that probably changed my life was marrying my wife. To be honest with you, and I'm not just trying to be cliche about that. I don't know what I was doing with my life before my wife. To be honest with you, man, I'm from Norfolk, man. I ain't making excuses. I'm just saying I was doing Norfolk things, put it like that. we went to middle, elementary, high school together, but we didn't date all those years. And we dated, when I transferred to Christian Newport, we dated a little bit, but I was still doing Norfolk stuff. And so she wasn't having it. And so come back around, you know, I see her again like 4 or 5 years later after we dated. And we got married within a year. And it just changed my life, man. Went back, you know, to finish up my degree, more responsible as a parent. She demanded that. You know, my mom taught me how to take care of a household. And so she was like, look, you're a good father. You're taking care of a household. Like, you got to change this about yourself. You got to move this way. If you want to be here, you got to do X, Y, and Z. And so she just reinforced those things that my mom instilled in me and just put my life into a different direction. So kudos to her, man. She is the foundation of this family. She holds us together for sure. And that was like the biggest like change right there. And people who are around me, who know me personally, I'll tell you that, like, you know, that event, marrying her, was life changing at that latter part of my life. You know, after all the AAU nights and all of that kind of stuff that, you know, we had, because she didn't like basketball. And when I was coaching AAU, you know, my last year coaching AAU, we were together. But before then, I was single, man. I was, you know, so she, yeah, definitely, that's the event.
Awesome. Well, look, man, knowing what you know now, and like, what would you tell your younger self? Because you were, I mean, it's just, you know, like you got in, like I said, you got in when you were coaching, you know, you got into high school, assistant coach at Booker T. But like, what would you tell your younger self, you know, how to prepare to be an assistant coach in college? Because, or would you have started younger, like trying to go right into college right away?
Yeah.
Like, what would you tell yourself?
Don't think you can do it all by yourself. You know, find somebody to gravitate towards and actually listen. Being from a single parent household, the younger me wasn't trying to really listen to a man. I didn't have a dad. So, you know, but I was fortunate to be around some good men. Like my high school JV coach was David Floyd, who was a disciplined guy. My high school varsity coach was Lonnie Blow, who's an outstanding man. Like, we all know that. He's well known as an outstanding man. And then, like, even from the boys club days, Mr. Yearwood, Kevin Yearwood. So I've had some great men in my life. You know, I got to work with, you know, Cornell Parker at Moore. You know, I got to work with some good dudes, man. Jack Baker was the head coach.
Too, man. Shout out
to
you.
You know, yeah. So, you know, I've been around some good people. I just never, as a young person growing up, gravitated towards a man. Because, like, yo, my mom got me, but she can't show you all the things that you needed to do. And so, you know, I would have definitely listened to Coach Blowmore, for sure, to learn how to be a good assistant, because he was that, and now he's a great head coach. And just some of the other influential people in my life, you know, I've had a bunch of them. And the younger me, like even like from Cynthia Watson to Dr. Tatasi to like different people I had in my life, man. Boo Williams, now Ted Miller. I was so hard-headed. Ted, I never listened to Ted, you know. And when he was, remember Boo made Ted travel with us my first year. Ted was like my babysitter to make sure I can do it. But then after that, you know, I understood what Boo and Ted wanted from me. And so I would say younger self, take their advice, heed their advice, listen to these guys, because they know what it takes to be a college coach. I didn't know. I thought I knew, but when I got there, I damn sure didn't. And so younger self, you know, these guys are trying to help you. These men and women are trying to help you. Take this advice, leash on a little bit, and don't have so much pride. The younger me probably had too much pride, I would say. So if I could do it all over again, I would, you know, tuck my ego a little bit and grow, and I would have grew at a faster pace, for sure.
I'm going to throw one more name out there, because I'm not going to get a call from this guy. It's Roland Ross, because I know I will get a call from him.
All right.
If you don't mention his name.
I messed up. I blew it. If it wasn't for Roland Ross, and my mom, of course, I would have never made it through Christian Newport University. I was a wild card, man. I could play, though. Roland Ross, really. And that's another guy. See, what about would have took Roland Ross' advice to heart and really latched on to him? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a great example of how to be a great assistant coach and still be yourself and transition through different periods of young man, you know. And so, like, Roland Rolling was a big part. So my bad, Coach Ross. I owe you one for that one. A lot of $5 and $10, man. I owe you, buddy. A lot of.
I know. Look, I know I would have been getting a call on that one.
I'm glad you said that name, man. God, Lee, that would have been a mess up for me. So
I go back, man. When I was leaving Longwood, he tried to convince me to come to Christopher Newport before I went to Elizabeth City. I said, man, you got, you know, that's when Lamont was over there, and what was the point guard name? He was really good. Artist.
Steve Artist.
Artist was there. Yeah, Steve Artist was there. I was like, man, you out your mind. I'm not coming here. I want to play.
It's some legends.
They were really good. They were really good then. So, look, man, thank you again, Jermaine, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. You want to lead the people to anything before you go?
Yeah, man. Just follow your dreams and be yourself. You know, I don't regret anything I've done in my career. Again, a kid from Norfolk. Like, I just want to show them that you can be whoever you want to be. You can pursue your dreams, but just know that, you know, you see me in athletics, it's way more stuff to me and to the world than just sports. And so dream bigger, dream outside the box a little bit, but don't ever lose yourself and be authentic, because you got to look at yourself every day in the mirror. So keep grinding, guys. This is great, man. I'm glad you had me up here, Lamar, to share my story, and I'm looking forward to the future. And next time we talk in 2 or 3 years or whatever, hopefully I'll be a head coach. If not, you know, I'll still be repping the HBCU. But I think this is the right path for me. And I just say, kids, follow your path. Follow the path you think is best for you.
Awesome, man. Well, you know, you're welcome, man. And just a guy, no, I definitely had to get on the show. But I want to thank you, viewers, for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest. We get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.